This 2-minute art tip starts with several thumbnail-sized videos and still shots consisting of Julie in past shows and some of Julie's artwork. The title of this segment also appears, which is Fabriano Artistico.
Hello and welcome to Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. My name is Julie and I'm here to impart some knowledge to you today via a 2-minute art tip. And today's 2 minutes will be a little bit longer than that because we have a special guest with us here. We have Andrew from MacPherson's.
Andrew is on screen with Julie. Both are standing. He's wearing a blue Cheap Joe's apron with a pink shirt underneath.
And he is going to talk to us today about all things Fabriano and fabulous. So take it away, Andrew. We are anxious to hear all you have to say.
Thank you, Julie. And I haven't done the Fabriano and fabulous in the same sentence before.
Right.
I think
and
that
I worked
fits
that in
perfectly.
That was good.
I love it. So today I am here to hang out with Julie. We're going to play a little bit. We're going to talk about Fabriano Artistico. Fabriano Artistico is a really lovely paper. Fantastic for watercolor. Watercolor, it's going to be labeled as a watercolor paper, but we know many artists, many influencers, ambassadors who are using it for everything from watercolor, gouache. I have one artist who does hard pastel portraits on it, and he uses a very specific paper that I think Julie is going to play with today. But it's the penultimate mixed media paper. You can use almost anything on it, though I will recommend if you're going to play with oil on it to please prime it first, but anything else can stick right to it.
The camera shot changes from Andrew to an overhead shot of the table that's in front of them. On the table are Fabriano Artistico blocks of paper.
I have a few blocks out here. The Fabriano Artistico comes in blocks as well as sheets and rolls. But first let's talk a little bit about the history of Fabriano. So Fabriano has been around since 1264. That is 758 years ago. They started making paper in the town of Fabriano, where they still make it today. They were the first paper makers to create a watermark on their paper so that people would know it was Fabriano. They can associate it with the quality of the town, of the people, of the mill. They were the first company to create a paper sizing. So watercolor, as we know it today, would not exist potentially if it weren't for that invention of paper sizing. And just a quick reference for that, if you don't know what paper sizing is, it's kind of the glue that goes in and coats the cotton fibers of your paper, coats the outside surface, so that when you go to paint on your 100% cotton watercolor paper, it doesn't turn into tie-dye. It keeps those sharp lines for you.
Yeah, water regulation.
Yes.
That's right.
Otherwise, it'll be like painting on a cotton t-shirt.
Exactly.
So Fabriano Artistico has a long history in paper making. They've invented a lot of things to make paper making better, but the Artistico is the cream of the crop. They make a lot of different papers, everything from handmade, which they still make. They bring in university experts on making paper, and they do small batch papers every year, to mold made, like the Fabriano Artistico, to fourdinier, or machine made papers, which is a much faster line of papers to make, and that can reduce the cost and make it a little more affordable. Now, a mold made paper, the texture is dictated by the screens, and the screens is also where the watermarks are. So the watermark is woven into the metal mesh as a relief sculpture, and then the paper is a thinner paper where that is. So the watermark is actually made into the paper and not embossed into it.
Right, so the mesh passes through the slurry and it's grabbing the fiber, and where that watermark is, the fiber just collects irregularly in a less concentration, so that's where you get the watermark.
Absolutely. Now with the Fabriano Artistico, it now has 4 decal edges, and it's 2 true decals and 2 torn decals. And one of the cool things about the 2 torn decals and the history Fabriano has with watermarks is that they actually watermark a line in the production of the screen, so that when it comes off as a roll, there's little thin spots, and they can tear that wet paper to get you your other 2 decals, and they call that a trickle of water. right where they have that. So it's a really historical way to create those two torn decals.
Right, because some of the other ones that have the machine decals, they look, well, it looks like one of those craft rulers. It's not as pretty. It doesn't match, you know, and I'm one of those nerds that when I'm painting in a full sheet, it needs to look like an art object, and when all the 4 decals are intact, it has that look.
Yes. Now it comes in 2 colors.
The overhead camera shot shows the paper on the table that Andrew is talking about.
There is the extra white, which Julie has in front of you here, and right behind that on the table you might be able to see it's a softer tone, almost a little bit more of a creamy color, and that is the traditional white. And Fabriano Artistico comes in 4 surfaces.
Andrew reaches down to the table to pick up the 4 blocks with the different surfaces. He then holds them up and shows them on camera.
Let's show these 4 surfaces so that people can see how they respond. Because the surface texture, we said it's dictated by the by the screen.
Andrew's tearing off the first page of the block, which just has random doodling on it.
So depending on the screen we're using, sorry everybody for the loud noise.
We've been playing.
Depending on the screen we're using, we will get 4 different surfaces for Fabriano Artistico. And those 4 different surfaces are hot press.
Andrew holds up the hot press block and then the other 3.
So think hot like an iron. It's very smooth. You iron your clothes smooth. We have cold press. Many of you may know cold press. It's the most common watercolor paper that is purchased, but it is not always the best. You should experiment and see which one you like and fits what you're doing.
People get stuck on that because so many instructors teach on cold press, and then people just don't deviate from that.
We should all play. Always play, have fun, try everything. There's rough, which is another one that is relatively common, but it's a lot of people don't try and experiment on it enough because it can be kind of scary to paint on rough.
Right,
you can't control it as much.
A very artisanal look to the finished piece.
And then the 4th surface is unique to Fabriano, and it does not come in the blocks. It only comes in the sheets, and that is in front of Julie here.
The camera shot shows the paper in front of Julie.
And that is Fabriano's soft press paper. And it is a surface texture that is unique to Fabriano. It's smoother than cold press and more uniform, but it is more textured than hot press. Just a very, very lovely surface to work on. The washes are very even on it. The detail can be impeccable. Whereas on some hot press, you'll see as we play, let's play a little bit.
Yeah.
On some hot press, we'll put this in between us, we can both play.
Andrew sets the block in between them so they can paint on it.
You'll see when we do washes on hot press.
Andrew paints an auburn color on the paper, painting from top to bottom.
You can see it kind of, the water moves when you have a really heavy wash.
Julie is also painting on the paper a line from top to bottom.
So it's going to push the pigment to the edge of that, and you might have some nice blooms. It's a great effect if that's what you're looking for. But if you want an even wash, it can take more time and more layers to achieve on a hot press paper.
And I like soft press because sometimes, well, here lately I've been working in 2 format extremes, really large and really small. And with cold press, even that much texture gets exaggerated in a small format. But hot press has so many kind of unusual characteristics that it makes it a little bit tough to manage. So soft press is actually perfect because the tooth is not so pronounced. So you can do interesting techniques and you're not compensating for the tooth in that very, very small format. Plus, soft press is great with other media. So I've used soft press for graphite, pen and ink, alcohol ink, all kinds of different stuff because I'm a big fan.
Julie and Andrew continued doodling on the different styles of paper.
So I did a swatch of this color. It's, in case anybody's wondering, I really like this color. It is Sennelier's Permanent Alizarin Crimson Deep. But I did a little line of it here on the hot press. You can see it's getting that bloom effect that I was talking about. And then I did a little on the cold press here. You can see that it's a lot more easy to control that wash, but you can still see some of that texture. The rough, especially at the edges where I did the dry brushing, you can pull that texture forward a lot and get that rough surface. And then I'm gonna move this out of the way because I'm really excited that Julie's working on that soft press paper.
Julie is pulling down light blue lines on the paper.
I love that soft press for getting all that detail and evenness. Just a lovely paper to work with. And we have a number of friends. I mentioned that it's a great mixed media paper. We have a number of friends who do things, and it's exclusively on this soft press that one of our friends does his hard pastel portraits of people. Loves the way that the dry media sticks to it. I know a lot of people who use acrylic on that because they don't like the surface texture of a canvas, the uniformity there. And this has a more subtle, more delicateness to it. And so they love painting with acrylic on there. So very, very versatile paper. Now all of the Artistico is 100% cotton. It is totally archival. It is not using any optical whiteners or bleachers. You get those 4 surface textures, the 2 colors, just a really, really amazing paper, a lot of variety. And that's the story of Artistico.
It's brilliant.
Now, in addition to Artistico, I know we're out of time, but I'll add a little note.
That's okay.
So for some of us, we don't want to buy a big sheet of paper or a block and then experiment. You know, we have an investment in that paper. I will always tell you to experiment as much as you can and never worry about the paper. Get it dirty, it's fine. But if you don't want to buy a full sheet of paper or a block and then experiment, a really good opportunity is Fabriano also makes these studio pads.
Andrew shows the pads on camera.
That are 25% cotton instead of 100% cotton. And these are made to be more affordable, but they're still made in the Fabriano paper mill in Fabriano, Italy, using all of their resources and technology, but at a much better price for experimentation. So I tend to utilize these a lot when I buy a new color or when I'm experimenting with color mixes. I'll do my color charts on these and then I can translate it to the next sheet.
Awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful because, you know, if you're laying out ideas, just trying to get a feel, you're playing around and experimenting, that would be a perfect surface for that. So, well, thank you so much. I'm excited to have learned so much. And Fabriano Studio and Fabriano Artistico available right now here at Cheap Joe's. Check them out. We are sure that you will enjoy.
The screen slides left and Julie is back on screen.
Thanks for joining us for another installment of 2-Minute Art Tips right here at Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. We hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a little something. If so, give us a like, comment with your thoughts, and share with a friend. Subscribe below and don't miss a single 2-Minute Art Tips and help us reach 150,000 subscribers. See you next time.
Cheap Joe's Art Stuff desires to provide a positive customer experience to all our customers, and we aim to promote accessibility and inclusion. Our goal is to permit our customers to successfully gather information available in our video content. Whether you're using assistive technologies like a screen reader, a magnifier, voice recognition software, or captions for videos, our goal is to make your use of this content an enjoyable experience. If you're having difficulty with videos provided through Cheap Joe's Art Stuff, please feel free to call us at 800-227-2788 or email info@cheapjoes.com, and we'll work with you to provide the information for audio descriptions in these videos.